Okay, we're live. Live. This is the Student Achievement Committee meeting of September 24th, 2025. And we will start with it is 4:30. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Being that we have a new transmission, I think we'll start with introductions, just name, if we could just go around the table.
Liza Siegel, Associate Director for Learning. Sydney Leggett, new Superintendent.
Bob Moore, Board of Ed.
Linda Darcy, Board of Ed.
Lucy Petrello, Board of Ed, and we have a guest,
Maureen Hamilton.
Maureen Hamilton.
Alexander Hamilton.
And I'm going to bring Lindsay in as a panelist.
And Lindsay.
All right, Lindsay, you're on as a panelist now. Okay.
Lindsay Dahlheimer, Board of Ed.
There she goes. Okay. Item number 2 is public comment. No? Okay, they don't have any comment. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. They have a motion.
I move to approve the agenda.
So Linda and approved it. Bob second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Item number 4, approval of minutes for June 4th, 2025. Motion to approve,
So moved.
moved by Linda,
Second.
second by Bob. Any discussion? Any corrections? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 5, summer program update.
Yeah,
Liza,
that's
let
great
us know what
numbers
happened.
about our summer program.
Yeah.
So we had the extended school year program. It provided summer programming for 70 students, supporting continued progress towards individual goals. Participation included 41 students at Brewster, 15 at CRHS, and 14 at MTA. In addition, we had a summer academy for grades K through 3. 39 students attended at Brewster and engaged in continued learning opportunities in literacy and math. We had a kindergarten academy. This is for incoming kindergartners to focus on classroom introduction and readiness skills. And 64 kindergartners attended out of 87 that we have currently. So that's very, very awesome. And I'd like to say a big thank you to our dedicated staff who made these programs possible. Their commitment ensured that students had meaningful and supportive learning experiences throughout the summer. So thank you to them all.
Well, that's great. The summer program, the first one, that's the continuing one for, that's more remedial in nature. Is that how that works?
Extended school year is for special education
Special education.
students
That's what I thought.
through their individual education plans.
Okay, and the summer academy is in addition to, that's different.
Summer Academy is for students who, regular education students who may need some extra support in math and or literacy.
Okay. That's great. Item number 6, we have a policy review, graduation policy 5127. Hey.
Hello, Maureen, how are you?
Great.
Good to see you. I just saw you're in on this nonprofit text string.
We can.
So you do the library? Coffee at the library?
Yes.
Awesome. Good.
I already had
What's the going rate for coffee at the Durham Fair?
$4 or $10 for a mug where you get $2 refills. And you can use past year's mugs if you have one.
Yeah.
For the record, Jamie Rohrbach has arrived, other board member. 5127, what, I don't see any changes on this. What?
So what I did
So this is an initial discussion. What I'd like to do is anything that has to do with student achievement, learning, curriculum, instruction, assessment, all those kind of things. I'd like to have this committee just talk about it, have a discussion before it goes to the regular policy process, right? So two that we need to update are the graduation policy. So that you won't see any updates on that. I just wanted to open up the discussion about some of the potential changes. The next thing you'll see is the link to the new 25 credit schedule at the high school, which would go into this policy. And then we do have some changes recommended on curriculum 6140. So do you want, I think the graduation requirements, the one in the middle for the 25 credits, it's 25 credits for the state now. And I think that one is pretty straightforward unless anybody wants to have any discussion about that.
That's the 5127?
Yes, it's the second one.
Oh, the second, one, okay.
Yeah.
Requirements.
But then, when we're looking at the,
Do you know why they lowered the number? Or was it always lower and we just had a higher number?
no, they did lower, didn't this, I mean, I wasn't in Connecticut, but I think the state did lower it by 1 credit, didn't they?
Because we were.
Or was it just we had one more for higher?
Where did they lower it? In what section?
I'm not sure if they lowered it or they distributed it from to the humanities and the STEM. I'll have to look that up.
Okay, we'll check on that.
Well,
We'll get back to you.
English, the old one said 4 credits, but the new one says 3 credits. And then it says college recommendation 4 credits.
Mhm.
So they basically lowered English in the requirement.
Right? I'm wondering if how this is written out should be a little bit different. Instead of course requirements or recommendations for college, it should say required credits for high school graduation and then requirements for college readiness.
Yeah,
Just because it looks like footnotes as opposed to what's required or recommended.
Well, I think ultimately, however we have this table, it will go in and replace the requirements in the policy, so it would, I think, look different when it got in there. But would you want 2 different tables, or maybe just another column of college requirements versus general requirements? I'm not sure what you're thinking.
Yeah, I just think it just shouldn't look like a footnote, like it should be 2 separate tracks. I don't think, maybe you don't need 2 separate charts, but maybe just, it almost looks as though it's just like a footnote or an asterisk.
in the policy, if we reduce the numbers to the state one, you could have a paragraph, because there's narrative that goes with it about graduating competencies. You could have a paragraph about college competencies, which would then say you need another 4 credits, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Right. In the total credits, it doesn't really say recommendation total or requirement total. It's just blank.
I also, I mean, I don't understand why they reduced it to 3 years of English.
Yeah,
However, and I'm thinking world language, right? If you have,
and add another language though.
the idea of 3 years makes sense if someone as a junior is taking AP English. Then in my head, well, why make them take another year? They're already taking a college class. However, a lot of kids are gonna see that as, oh, I only have to take 3 years, and we want all kids to graduate college ready. So I haven't had enough time to really think about it, but I don't like the idea of saying that our kids only have to take 3 years of English without some kind of asterisk to it.
Can you tell
I think it's the same way for
So
math for me, Linda, because in all honesty, I actually heard one of my 15-year-olds say, oh, I only need 3 years of math. And that shouldn't be something that they're thinking very early in school, that, oh, I only have to get through 3 years of math. If, their senior year, if they're going into a career or readiness, to say that for a whole year they didn't have math is to me, it's
think
just.
Liza can give us a history on this
Okay.
of the changes.
So in looking at this is the minimum graduation requirements. So we're thinking about all students here. Now, the graduation requirements are often discussed with child and parent especially in 11th grade, 10th, 11th grade, about what is needed for their possible career or future choices. So minimum requirements are often the minimum to graduate, and then there is a recommendation if you are choosing to go to college. If you have decided that you want to go into a certain career, maybe you are taking 4 years of math. There are many that are going into certain areas that need to take 4 years of math and 4 years of science. And then there are some that do not need to take 4 years of math and 4 years of science. I don't want to say that people are cutting off their general learning too early or in the beginning, or making choices that may affect their future if they so choose to change their path of what they choose. But these are the minimum requirements. These are not the recommendations. So when somebody goes to the guidance counselor, the guidance counselor is not saying, well, you only have to take 3 years of math, so let's not make sure you only take 3 years of math. They are guiding guidance counselors, they're guiding students to make their best choices. But we also need to look at all students, and there are some students that will need these minimum requirements to make it to graduation.
Yeah, and for me, it's I was not a math person. And things were different. I only took 2 years of science. I had 11 music credits, 2 years of science and, only 3 years of math because I failed algebra in 8th grade. And I don't know, like I said, I have to wrap my head around it. And to me, if we have a 4-year or a 3-year or whatever requirement, then the onus is on the district to provide classes and the scaffolding so that kids can pass 4 years. Cause you're right, I wouldn't ever want to put a 4-year world language or 3-year world language, because then you have some kids, once you hit the 3rd year, it's a very different class. And so if we're not giving credit for middle school, it is an undue burden on some kids to make them take 3 years. But for some reason, English feels different to me.
Well, I think, one of the things that I was looking at with this is if we did add, for example, 4 years of English, 4 years of math, that would leave only 0.5 elective credits available, and I know that, and to get to the minimum state requirement of 25. And I know that we don't want to do that either, right? Because we want to make sure
Right.
that students still have the flexibility and the different paths that they can go to pursue their interests.
I mean, I'm not at all concerned about the appearance that it looks like we're lowering the bar. Certainly we'll be accused of that, as we know, but I like the flexibility option, considering all students. And those that are high achievers and want to proceed, they're gonna do it. So I don't see any barriers or roadblocks to that as it exists now.
Could one
Well,
of
I
the
think too-
electives be based on either ELA, math, or both? Could there be some requirement that an elective have a component in order to satisfy a 4th math or English in order to satisfy? I just feel like if kids aren't working in math and they're not working in English that senior year, or if they're struggling to find what they want to do and they become juniors and all of a sudden they don't have the requirements required because they've been guided towards a path of, minimum requirements, it just makes me a little nervous.
If a kid has a saturated schedule, which I don't recommend for anyway, but how many credits can they get in 4 years? Like,
8 times 4, 32, I think. I would imagine.
so,
8 period, AD. 4 block day.
I think it's
Yeah.
32.
How many blocks are there now?
so it's an 8,
14.
8.
4, yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I'd have to double check.
This also adds in this new one, a world language requirement, which isn't in our current policy.
I think how you label each of the columns, like for the required credits, just to graduate, just say if you put the word minimum, that focuses on the fact that it's minimum.
Sure.
And then I don't know how you would do the college requirements. You could just leave it college requirements course requirements for college entrance. I had a question. What if you're a student who decides to do the minimum? And then later on, after you graduate, year, 2 years, whatever, you get the light and you decide to go to college. What's that gonna, how is that gonna affect them when they go to college? Are they gonna have to take some prerequisite courses?
Probably, but there's also kids going right out of college who will have to take some of those classes too, right?
Yep.
Um,
And there are some that could have been taken geometry early and they already actually made it to algebra 2 by 10th grade or 11th
right,
grade.
and that, yeah,
So,
that's why I feel like having
Yeah.
some kind of a mastery
Mhm.
asterisk next to whether it's English and math, and again, yeah,
This is the
And-
mastery requirements.
and
Yeah,
the,
it's-
and
it's in the back.
I don't like having it broken out because kids, we have way too many, you know how I feel, we have way too many tracks in the high school. So some kids are coming in anyway, feeling pigeonholed and not maliciously, but being put in a non-honors track. And they're just gonna be accepting of it. And then we're saying in our policy, it's okay. And that's why I don't like the idea of separating out, oh, you're gonna go to college at 14, we think you're gonna go to college, so we're gonna push you here. As opposed to, we decide what the minimum, for us, what the minimum is. I do agree, however, so it'd be 28 credits if they have one study hall. Not a day, because it's a rotating thing, right? So that would be 28 credits, which would allow for, if we had the 4-year, if we had the 4 credit requirement for math and English, that would come out to the 25 credits, and then there's still 3 central or elective credits that they could take. And still have a study hall.
I also think that by law in Connecticut, if the state says you need 25 credits, I think we're required to give them a path to graduate in 25 credits,
Yes,
right?
right.
Okay.
And so, but all of that would, I mean, and again, I hear you, Lindsay, I'm a liberal arts kind of gal, so like the math thing is just. I would like, there's no calculus is a dumb class to offer, I said it here. Right, it should be data
I
science.
disagree.
If you're gonna be an engineer, 100%, but for 90% of our kids, data science is a better track. And so I wouldn't want a kid to have to take 4 years and have to take calculus. But if a kid passes algebra 2 as a junior and they're like me and they hate it with every fiber of their being, I wouldn't want to make them take trig or pre-calc or whatever it is. So as you can see, I am torn.
Could that financial literacy count towards math?
financial literacy is a half credit and it can count towards humanities, STEM, or elective credits. That was in the most recent update to the state.
Yeah.
So it can count for humanities, a STEM, or an elective credit, half credit counts for half.
You know,
credit.
we frequently talk about supporting math and literacy among other classes, some of the enrichment things too. I mean, the math and literacy make their way into many places, not just the class labeled as such.
Yeah, and that's a little bit how I feel about English, and I was a high school English teacher, so it was definitely my passion. However, I really don't have a problem with 3 credits as a minimum for English, because I feel like it's more about getting to that mastery level. And that's in the rest of the policy. Like, as long as we know that through those 3 credits, they've proven that level of mastery, then to me, I think that they get all of that ELA things, and they should be getting them in all their other classes.
And it does allow a kid to double up if there's flexibility as to when those 3 years happen, right? And for ML kids to let them not taking, if they're newish, to not take English their freshman year and take care of some less English intensive courses.
So I
I
think,
know.
sorry, go ahead, Linda. I'm a little
No, I was
delayed.
just gonna say, I know that my resistance is a historical bias. I'm trying to work through it.
So I think my question is, under the required credits, would this allow a student to junior year change a decision on a track between minimum graduation requirements and college? are we allowing that emotional, social growth to say junior year, they've had this huge expansion on what they want to do in life. Can they pivot easily to that track?
Yes, I would say that would be easy to do in senior year.
Especially because in 9th and 10th grade, a lot, except for an elective choice, a lot of the programs are the same for a lot of the students. So, you have English 9 and you have English 10. By 12th, you get some electives in English, but you're in English 9, you're in English 10, you're in biology or, earth science. So, I would say most students are at the same point at that venture. And so then you would, decide from there. But as someone who took probably 10 music courses in high school, this would allow me to do so. But if you up credits in other areas,
Yeah.
it would not.
Yeah,
my
when we're
other
talking,
concern is under world language, that one credit. If they get to junior year and they have one credit, how attainable is that to get to 3 with their schedule? Is there going to be issues with scheduling to get to 3 credits? Because that's
Yeah, I don't-
a big hurdle.
And again, as a world language teacher, I think it's unfair to require 3 credits unless we give them a credit for middle school. And I would advocate for, they take the same, as long as it's a nice performative assessment, they take the same assessment coming out 8th grade as French and Spanish 1 in the high school. And then they get the credit for that. And then I'm okay with it being 3 credits.
So as long as they do well in 8th grade, you move that forward to a 1 credit
In the high
in
school.
the high school.
Right, but I
then-
think that's where a big gap is, because right now at the middle school level, it's really not encouraged unless kids are already thinking, especially under our kids who are in special needs, they're not taking 8th grade French or Spanish. They're not
Right.
taking world language till high school. So it puts them behind in a track to get to those 3 credits if they
And
think.
those are the exact kids who are gonna have a hard time in a true 3rd year.
So maybe it's not the high school requirements that I'm really concerned about, but more of pushing the language at the middle school in order to give them a boost and a jump on those requirements if they are going to go to college.
I would say that for me, the discussion about whether we offer middle school credit should happen no matter what our credit requirement is for world language.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
Same thing with algebra, right? I mean, yeah.
Do we have any students now who don't take any foreign language?
Don't take any.
There's probably kids who get IEP
I
now.
was gonna say not unless it's part of their individual education plan.
But it's not required to graduate under our current policy.
No, that is a newer requirement. It is state requirement.
I know that, but
Yeah.
I mean, right now, one of the things you're gonna change is this number.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add a 1 for world language and make sure that we have it out for kids who don't need to take a world language. Is
That
there
would,
an
that would be
option?
through the IEP.
Only through an IEP.
Was that the thought in possibly instituting? I know last year I think we didn't approve it, but the world cultures curriculum, was that part of possibly satisfying that world language credit for kids who had problems or issues engaging in world language?
That's what
Still
they
needed that
wanted.
minimum
That
requirement.
was the thought behind it and the big
Talk about
pushback.
differentiation instead, right?
And the big pushback was it's not a language class, it was a social studies class.
Okay,
And so you can have an exploratory low language load class and still have it be a language class. But the way it was presented was, it was not a language class, it was a social studies class.
gotcha. Okay, I just couldn't remember. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to move us forward a little bit. So you're not approving anything. This is just the look before the policy.
Right.
So we'll take these into consideration, we'll revise, and then we'll get it to the policy committee.
Mhm.
And then I did want to take a look at the graduation policy, and that this would go into. And there are some changes that I would like to make there, or just at least discuss. So we talked about the credits. And then we have the graduation competencies. And then we have expectations. I had an issue with able students, maybe able to There's kind of, can we change that language?
Mhm.
Able students may be permitted to take a heavier, yeah. Okay, we could just say students may be permitted
Yeah,
to take a heavier,
right.
okay. And then, early college admission, and then the other thing, when we get down to the, regulations is, you know, we launched our portrait of a graduate work this morning, with the leadership team, so I think some of these may potentially change, maybe a little bit, maybe not at all, maybe a lot, I don't know, but through the portrait of a graduate and strategic planning process, some of these might change. And I would just wanted to bring that up as a, how are you feeling about that as we go through the portrait of a graduate? If some of these are adjusted, are you okay with that?
You're talking about this students,
Yeah.
5127?
Yes. The regulations, yeah, this
Yeah.
one. I like at first glance, I think these regulations will change once we have a fully developed portrait of a graduate.
I had a problem with, all the or an alternative by the English or science department.
Mhm.
Is
Like,
that,
or an alternative assessment to be
Yeah.
developed.
is that so vague that it could be anything?
Well, I mean, if somebody's developing an assessment to demonstrate competency, it has to meet very specific criteria.
Yeah,
So I don't think, in my opinion, again, I'll defer to you. I don't think that it's just a random assessment. I think that it has to meet all of the requirements of what's been outlined in that curriculum for those competencies.
Yeah,
And
and I
then
think this policy just needs to be overhauled and in line with whatever the portrait of graduate plus our requirements are, because there's just a lot of language that's dated in it. The other thing, not to go back to the other thing, but possibly looking at algebra as a daily course freshman year, as opposed to certain days of the week. Does that change the requirements for how many credits there are? Could it be considered 2 credits if it's a course that's every single day their freshman year to jumpstart math?
I think that would change the scope and sequence
Yeah,
of the curriculum.
Okay. It might just be something to think about down the road. I was just trying to see how we could encourage more math as a jump start. And I know a few
So I know
districts are
that-
looking at doing that every day for algebra, their 9th grade year. So it's increasing it, but I didn't know if it increased the credits.
So I know that, the best place usually to double up if somebody wants to get ahead in math is to double up on algebra 2 and geometry.
Right.
Like that's the best place to combine in that area if you want to get to calculus or data science or probability, statistics, whatever we want to say happens next. So I don't know if doubling up on that algebra 1, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I think there's so much in Algebra 1 that really has to be mastered to set you up for success in any future math that I would be concerned.
It's the core. of
It's the
everything.
linchpin.
Yeah.
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 Now, with the discussions you're having with Portrait of a Graduate, we have a document that we had developed before. Are you working off that?
There's
or
3.
starting-
There's 3 that were
Oh, my
started.
goodness.
Nice.
There were 3
I
that
thought
were
they
started
settled
that
that
weren't
one.
finished. There was a portrait of a graduate, and then there was a portrait of a citizen, and then
Yep.
there was a portrait of a learner. We have all 3 of those, so
Okay.
we're not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? We want to see what we know is solid and good from all of
Yeah.
those, but then move forward and finish one.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't realize.
And
implement.
And
I didn't realize we had 3.
Yeah,
that's
other place.
So my recommendation to the policy committee for now would be to repeal those regulations. And then just when the portrait of graduate is finished at the end of this year, add those back in as regulations, but these are so unaligned to anything that we're doing right now.
yeah.
We have to adopt.
I agree.
Sorry,
We have to adopt the new number,
you do have to adopt a new number.
so we need to at least.
Do that part, right? So I'm only talking about repealing the regulations. What do you think those?
That's the last.
Those, just that.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yep.
And then take out the word able and then update the credits.
Yeah.
Okay. Liza, does that sound good for you?
Mhm.
Lindsay, does that sound okay with you?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, moving on to curriculum. Um, basically, if you're looking at the recommended, so recommended is in bold and italics here. So there's just some new language in the preamble, about the Student Achievement Committee. Basically, the language at the beginning is the exact language from the law that says that the school board has to recommend, develop, review, and approve all curriculum. So,
And that's this,
no,
no, what are we talking about?
we're talking about
Oh,
policy.
sorry, we're still on,
Yeah.
see, I had already checked it off, my bad,
6140.
got it.
Just some other language to kind of clear up
Yep.
the purpose of curriculum. And then I added in alignment with the approved district strategic plan. Doesn't exist yet, but it will. And then also everything, instead of making a huge long policy about curriculum with a whole bunch of regulations, the regulation itself is the curriculum handbook, which you were talking about. So basically, this would be the overarching umbrella of the policy, and then the curriculum handbook would essentially be the regulation that you would approve.
So we would attach the curriculum handbook to this policy like we would a regulation.
I don't know if you want to attach it to the policy, but I think you should approve the curriculum handbook, since that really has everything. I mean, it's always going to be a living document. It's always going to be an administrative document that's going to need to be changed and updated every year based on where we are with the curriculum. Best practices coming along, all those kind of things, different, yeah, changes in staffing. But you could have it as a regulation, but it won't be static, so you could just approve it as, procedures, or just as a handbook. You can just approve it as a handbook.
Yeah, I think
Good thing it was upgraded. Good thing it was upgraded. That's one less thing you have to worry about doing.
Liza did a lot of hard work on
She
that.
did.
I think we approved the curriculum handbook last year when it was found, and Liza went through all of it and updated it, if I'm not.
At the Student Achievement Committee meeting,
Meetings, yeah.
Yep.
We did.
did the board approve it? As the student
I-
achievement,
I don't think
I don't think the
the-
word, okay,
No.
I think it was just reviewed at a student.
Right,
meeting.
and I
so
don't,
we should put it to the full board then.
Sure.
Right?
Correct. Yep.
well, is that, I mean, if it's not a policy, does it go to the board for vote?
Handbooks usually do.
Okay,
This kind of handbook, when
Yeah,
you're
okay.
referring it as a policy.
okay,
Like we're saying, this is how we're doing things, but I'm open to ideas. Whatever, however you feel like you want to move forward, but this is the guiding document to how the district works with curriculum. If we reference it in the policy, there should be something that the board approves to say, yes, this is how we're doing it.
All right, and I think the idea behind not sending it to the full board was because it wasn't that we created the curriculum handbook, it's that we found it because it had been missing. But I agree with the changes, it should go.
Okay. Those were my only recommendations on 6140.
we can
So with
put in
that,
the handbook that it'll be, periodically reviewed but amended by the administration as necessary.
Yeah.
As part of the way we adopt
revised,
it,
yeah.
so you can change it without having a board approval every time.
Right.
So in those policies, 6140, is that going to be referred to the policy committee with the
Yes.
changes?
Yeah. All of these will.
Okay.
Like the language.
Yep.
And
So-
I'm gonna hand it over to Liza for the new course curriculum review.
Yes, so over the summer, we had three good curriculum documents created. We had biomedical exploration, sociology, and unified music in our lives courses created. And they were sent out with the agenda.
Yep.
They include several units. One is the biomedical exploration is currently on a project-based learning template. The other two are on UBD templates.
And Liza, which ones were reviewed by some of our internal people? Were they
So-
all three reviewed?
Two of them were reviewed by, well, technically I reviewed the music one. All three were reviewed. The biomedical and the sociology were reviewed by two staff members. that are not in that subject area, so, and then it was written by someone in the subject area, so looking at, all those different lenses.
Was that new this year, to having the internal, have an internal review board?
It's, as far as I know,
Right.
from what I know.
No, I think it's a great
It
idea.
is, I have, two people that, have stipend positions this year, and that's part of it. So I did the, curriculum review template, and in the curriculum review template, they use that as a checklist. We're still working through some,
Sure.
revisions on that checklist. And whether it's gonna be unit by unit, holistic, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
but,
nice. I know,
it was
I think it's
reviewed.
I think it's a great idea to have. First of all, it also builds the capacity of having multiple people in the building who understand curriculum and design.
Mhm.
Okay.
This course is gonna be just a one semester course in the spring,
Which one?
the biomedical,
That's a semester, yeah.
and it's planned for this year.
Yes. So these are the three courses that had the scope and sequence, and the, application for approval. And then we had said that the curriculum be written over the summer.
Right.
They were completed, and then this was our first meeting, so.
Right.
And they're being, like, so the music class is happening right now? Well-
There is a section that is, being modified through certain goals for certain students that is using that, curriculum as their basis for the modification for those particular students. The class itself will run it.
And those are students with IEPs that the mod, okay.
Okay. So if there isn't anything else, I would go to the board for official approval. 'Cause
Did
we
anybody have
just-
any questions
we just
on any
send
of
it to
them?
the board.
Yeah. Any questions or?
We're running
Yeah.
all three of these currently? Or
Well,
just
music in our lives will run in the spring. I'm not sure
Mhm.
about, I think biomedical is, what about intro to sociology? Is that?
They're running.
They're running, okay.
Mhm.
Sociology's running now or in the spring?
I think they're all in the spring, but I'm not I'm not the high school scheduler, so I can check on that. Can look in,
Are we running a unified foods class as well?
so there is we have an intro to foods curriculum. And, like the music that I was just speaking of, it is currently modified for certain students this semester to give them a, intro to foods experience.
So basically, we already have a curriculum that's intro to foods. And then it's being run, and there's some regular ed and IEP kids in there.
As far as I know,
And then the modifications for the IEP. Okay, thank you.
yes, modifications for the
Students with IEPs, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in both the music area and the food area.
Now see if I
Makes
can
sense.
find out
So
about it.
the music in our lives curriculum is separate. Then there's a unified music in our lives.
That is the same.
They're the same. Okay.
We can call them unified music in our lives. I put unified music in our
In our
lives
lives,
just to make it,
So it would be good to see, even if it's co-teaching, separating out, making sure that we have the same wording under the foods, whether it be unified foods or unified introduction to foods. Am I?
Well, but I think there's a different structure.
yeah,
So if it's specifically a unified class, the creation and structure of it would be different than a mainstream, a mainstream class that has students with IEPs in it. And so it's not I see what you're doing there. And so it's not a unified class, it's a regular ed class, but the students with IEPs in it are, the content and delivery expectations are being modified. So it's the same class, but modifications for students with IEPs, according to IEP. right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. That's middle
That
school.
shouldn't make it a separate class. That's just a class.
Right.
I mean, modifications
So
are part
that-
of
That's the
the whole
difference.
teaching
Right.
process.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
the unified class is going to be set up in a unified structure. And that's in the spring. Currently, we have, some students with IEPs, and we are meeting their interests in music and foods through modified curriculum.
And if I had to guess, and not my world, but I would imagine that like a specifically unified class contains a lot more, by design, the opportunities for your typical student to be interacting, I don't wanna say tutoring, but just
Peer model.
integrating, peer, yeah.
So,
Versus,
Yeah,
here's the same curriculum, but we're gonna make these modifications for you. So I can see it.
It is a different
The-
design.
Yeah.
so in the unified, music, they're working on music and emotions. One of the projects is to work in teams
Mhm.
to make a playlist that would exemplify a story or emotion and why.
Yep.
And then compare. So
So both
there,
that are co-taught, so I don't want to call it unified foods, the introduction to foods that is co-taught, is that co-taught with a sped teacher and the foods teacher? I forget, I think it's Jane.
No. but there are special education staff. We have
In-
paraprofessionals
Supporting that.
and so on, supporting
Yeah.
students based on their IEP needs.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
And-
currently have co-taught classes at the middle school in math and ELA.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
listed under introduction to foods on the transcripts, correct?
I missed the first part.
Sorry, so it's under introduction to foods under the transcript
Excuse me.
for all students? Or is it
I will
under
have
a
to-
unified?
I will have to check because it's individual students.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
You think we
Lucy,
could
okay,
offer a
so-
sociology course at night?
You want to take it?
So you can go.
I
Did,
think a lot of people could.
Or so-
benefit
you and
from
Kim.
it.
did you read through? I really.
Yeah.
I read
I
read
think it's-
through it.
Sociology
Yeah,
class
a lot of
sounds
good stuff.
really
Yeah.
interesting to me.
I like the
Yeah.
biomedical one too, but I
Yeah.
What one?
like the
That
biomedical
one's
one, but
interesting,
I think the sociology one would be an interesting course to offer at night
Mhm.
for whoever
Adults.
wanted to get talk. It's a good way to talk about things.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Perhaps the
That needs
students
to be
could do
talked about.
presentations for a
Mhm.
community.
that's an idea.
Lucy, Maureen had
Sorry,
her hand
I'm
up.
sorry,
I don't know if
Maureen.
you're okay taking a question or not.
I didn't know if this is a place to do, there's a couple of just wording things that I thought might clarify. I don't know if I should tell you those.
You can probably go directly with Liza another time if
Okay.
there's like wording or typos or anything that you see like that.
Okay.
Okay, so if we're done with our discussion, then what we would basically do at this point is to recommend sending these three courses, biomedical exploration, sociology, and unified music in our lives, to the board, to the full board.
I have a
Or-
question about process. Does the full board see all of these curriculum documents, everything, or do you just say, we've reviewed these and we recommend these three courses?
We have sent it, in the past, we've sent it to everybody.
Okay,
Does everybody,
okay,
does everybody read them?
okay.
Is
But we
it,
have
is it student achievement making the recommendation to the full board, or is the student achievement committee, designated as the curriculum committee, the body that approves the curriculum?
No, I didn't see
With
anything
both.
that said the Student Achievement Committee has the ability to vote and approve. It would
Yeah,
go
we
to the full
Yeah.
board.
We voted,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
didn't know if
because
the changes to how they structured the curriculum committee was different, so.
I
Okay,
would just think you only need to say the scope and sequence to the full board, not all the other documents.
So just the overview, the first scope and sequence.
Yeah, these. I don't.
Yeah, and then just in the meeting, we let everybody know, look, we have reviewed the full documents. This is to give you the idea, but the documents have everything my little heart desires.
I did it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And 100%, I'll say it here. Thank you. I'll say it at that big meeting, but to me, a curriculum should be that if I, as a teacher, get hit by a bus and somebody has to come in, that they can go to this document and they have the anchor lessons. They understand what they're doing and this has that. So I think that's great.
Well, clapping for Liza.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good work was done this summer, so thank you.
Was put into it.
Yeah, we had a lot of stuff in the summer.
Yeah,
Even beyond.
it's obvious a
spring.
lot was
So,
put in there.
we had 30 teachers working on different projects.
Good, that's great.
I have one quick curriculum question before we move on, is that there's an esports class that I believe the board approved.
Yeah.
But you didn't technically approve the curriculum because it's a purchased curriculum, like you don't have any control over it at all. So is that?
Full
is that-
disclosure,
is it-
Yeah, so I happen to have a partnership with that particular company, but that all happened without me knowing.
Okay.
And so I did mention, like, first of all, it is a boxed curriculum, it's good curriculum and all, so we did vote to accept it.
It's
In
CIAC.
the same way, well, kind of, the CIAC finally just got on board, but in the same way, one of the other curricula was
Teamwork, I
that,
believe.
yeah,
Teaching.
that it was a box, you know, but a box curriculum, so we just approved it as is, as a box, and so we did the same thing with the esports, so we voted to approve it.
Okay.
Right, it wasn't a development of curriculum, it was accepting the curriculum from the company.
Yeah.
So this was a little different. That's why we had waited and we approved it last year on the premise that the curriculum, technically the Student Achievement Committee has already approved it based on actually working through the curriculum before July 1st, because I think the motion was we accept the curriculum pending the formulation of the curriculum by July 1st. So we're a little behind that, but I think that it follows with what we're supposed to do. So.
and all the material supporting this meeting, Meg does send to everybody.
Yeah.
So it's not just the achievement
Yeah.
committee.
Okay.
Well, that's true. So they've already
Yeah.
seen it anyway. It's there. Talking about, courses that we've approved before, I just wondered what the status of those were. This was back in December of 24. We had fundamentals of world culture, business law. I think the managerial finance, computer
We didn't
application. and
approve world
marketing.
cultures.
Did we approve?
So
World
We
cultures.
haven't
Yeah.
approved those. What, I just wondered what's
So
happening.
those, especially the business courses, since we didn't have a second business teacher, we were unable to offer them, so we did not.
Okay,
develop
that's what I
them.
kind of figured.
We, as far as the other course, that was not approved to move forward. So we don't have that.
Fundamentals of world culture.
was not
Oh, it says
approved.
right here.
So I think,
Oh,
if I'm looking at the list that I had,
We
I
said no
believe
way.
that we're all caught up
Says here.
until we have new.
Yes.
proposals.
So as far as I know, we are all caught up, new,
Okay.
caught up with our new courses. I have made a spreadsheet of all of our documents and there are some that are missing, but we are working on that with, our curriculum development and consultancy this year.
Mhm.
So, we don't want to move backwards to move forward. So we really want to move forward. And so we are, working on getting everything fresh in the next, few years.
And yeah, the first order of business will be ACES is gonna come in with, like, we have our contract with them for the curriculum work this year, and they'll be like doing a review. They'll be doing an audit of what we have and seeing where we are, where we need to go next. And
So they've started.
have you had a meeting with them yet? Or you had the initial?
I've had initial
Yeah.
phone conversation.
Yeah.
We're gonna do some great things on the PD day. We're gonna do with curriculum. We're gonna do some, and then I'm making appointments in the next few weeks
Mhm.
for that work to, different aspects of that work to begin.
They are really excited to come in. They're really excited that we're collaborating more. I love it. I love seeing it. The organization is phenomenal and we couldn't ask for better from a RESC. So it's great.
Agreed. I've been so impressed with them. It's been wonderful.
Okay. Item number 8, reviewing of the SBAC data. 2025. And
Would anyone
thank
like
you
a
again.
copy?
We have the same format as the last
Would you
set.
like a-
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. You want a color one? I have a color one here.
I couldn't print color.
Oh, you have
Tried
color.
with
I got it.
my computer, wouldn't do it for me.
You have to have color.
You have to have color because.
It's easier for the
I
diagonals.
know that, it wouldn't print.
It has
the
different
color.
shades of black and gray.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Color, anyone else?
I've got it. Thank you.
All right. So the report, purpose, and, information for state assessments and an index on the front. Pages 2 and 3 review the performance index scores for ELA and math. And there is an overall description of each cohort as well as the district as a whole. And there's also comparable districts in Middlesex County and where we stand again, not against, with those other districts. Notice a small increase in scores in ELA, from last year, small increase in scores from math, still not moving more stagnant in math, so we really need to review that. It also includes growth on page 4 and page 5. This is the average percentage of target achieved. So each student is given a target for their achievement, and they reach a certain percentage of that target. And that percentage is then averaged with everybody's else's percentage to give you the average percentage of target achievement.
The average of the average.
So, you can look at it as if somebody was supposed to get a 10 and they got an 8, they get an 80%. And then that's average with everybody's. Let's see, in ELA, for growth scores, grade 6 had, a lower score. And in math, grade 4, and that is expected with a, curve of implementation. Those were the 2 programs we actually implemented last year. And so, usual trend in implementation is that there'll be a small dip in the beginning, and then it will return and then increase. So that is our hope this, for next year. We have some good gains. Yeah, overall, it's, nothing.
So we feel like it's nice when you see things that you can expect, like an implementation dip is something that's expected. Like the worst thing is surprises. So I don't think we have any huge surprises, but I also think when Liza and I were talking about it, we'd like to see things be less stagnant. You know, like we're a little bit
Yes,
flat right now.
definitely.
And we need to make sure that we kick things into gear.
Now, can you go into the math and kind of pinpoint when the playlists came in, at which point the playlists were introduced and at what grade levels on the chart? Did you see any changes?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the implementation dip of this year, of this past year.
Yeah, that was in the EL.
And we had it in that with the
Sixth-
playlist.
Sixth grade in ELA,
Yeah.
because that was the 6th grade in ELA.
Okay,
And 4th grade in math.
And playlists.
okay, I misunderstood. I thought it was fourth grade, yeah.
My recollection of a student achievement meeting near the end of last year's school year was that, you know, we're such a small district that even a couple students who might not have scored so well affects the entire thing. So it's like, you have to temper this whole thing with reality sometimes, you know, not just look at the number.
And as I look at individual scores of this and of our, benchmark assessments, and our teams continue to look at individual learners and how they're progressing and making sure that they're progressing. You look at this and it's like, okay, and then you can see the picture of that.
Yeah, our
It's
ability
maybe
to
the-
identify students who
Yeah.
need extra help is
Mhm.
very much.
Yeah, then you may see
Great.
this, but then actually in iReady, it showed a lot of growth, so this is one point in time,
Mhm.
we take it seriously.
But we
And,
factor in
but
a
we
lot of other
factor in a
things.
lot of other things
Yeah.
when we're looking at, individual, student needs.
Well, full disclosure, I've never been a fan of comparing the DERGs. So there's so many
Yeah.
factors, but
I know.
that's just what
And I
the
do
state
think
actually
that-
says.
Right,
don't
the
worry
state
about it.
doesn't do it anymore,
Right.
and I know we've had board members who want it, and I really think we should just say, no, the state doesn't do it, we don't do it, boom, we're just not gonna do it anymore.
Well, I will take, of course, direction
Right,
from
yeah,
you
and-
as to what to put in. I was asked for
That's
that,
a
so I
Sydney
put
gets
it
to make
in,
that
but
So is that something this committee wants to discuss now? Do you want to discuss it with the full board?
I think it's a larger discussion than us. I think it's a discussion that it's always been, and maybe it's a discussion with the full board so the public can have some input on it. Because I think parents really have wanted to know how their kids are doing in comparison to their peers. And
But they're not their peers, that's the problem.
If it was
I
not,
completely understand and I completely agree. I just think that transparency
They
wise,
need to
we
get
should
over
be
it.
saying why we're not going to do this if we're not going to, because it could be perceived that we don't want to give that information and we really can't have that narrative.
I have no problem talking about it at the full board.
okay.
The other question I have based on looking at the grade levels is there a discrepancy across, I'm not asking for, to be singled out, but is there a discrepancy across specific classes per grade? Because sometimes we're looking at numbers dipping at, say, grade 4, grade 5, or grade 6. And, there's 2 classes that are lower, much lower, were they doing something differently? Have we been able to target any difference, or are we really looking at that's the average across all of the kids in that grade? Or at
so
least
at this level, we would just discuss overall, that is done at PLCs consistently. So the data from benchmarks, from our SBAC scores, they are brought grade level wise in PLC groups, and those grade level team members discuss their instructional practices, their assessments. Hey, you got so many students to reach mastery on this skill. How did you do it? Can you give me some pointers? Can I come observe? Can we share? So that is definitely done at the school level consistently. There's a
And-
PLC every week.
And that's a personnel issue, that's a supervision issue, right? So if there's a discrepancy, that's out of our purview, that's up to the building leader to say.
Yeah, but that's also, sometimes your very best teachers take the worst, and
Right.
hardest classes and the hardest kids, right? So like you'd actually probably have to see some kind of significant trends to be able to like say that it's a performance issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking with math, when we talk about, not having a full curriculum in math and working towards moving playlists across grade levels. I didn't know if we were seeing any trends of certain instructional tactics within math that were working with specific groups or specific teachers. I understand it's out of our purview. I was just wondering if, there was any indication that along class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too early to tell. And in addition, so playlists are just one of the tools that are used for the personalized learning approach. So, we are really trying to personalize the math and needs of every child. And the playlist is one of the tools that can be used for that. It's one of the main tools, but we have some priority pathways, some other small group tools and so on. Regardless, the personalized learning approach by research is definitely shown to improve and even accelerate learning for all students, not just the middle. And so we have only implemented this personalized approach for 1 year. And as it was the first year, we have revised. There was a group this summer that worked on revising how we are implementing. And we worked in August on our PD day to align 4th and 5th grade, to give them time to prepare. So we are really expecting that this personalized learning will help every child, especially if they have missed certain concepts and have not mastered all their concepts from K to 3, which is extremely important to move forward in that.
Liza, did you look at the drop in growth on math in the 23-24 year?
What page? 3?
5?
Page 5, 23, 24.
Yeah, we're up at 70% growth rates. in 23, and then in
Mhm.
24, we're down to 50.
Mhm.
And the sixth grade seemed to target, really nosedive a bit into.
Well, yes, well, seventh and eighth. So if you look at that, middle school, 6, 7, 8, like, because I'm looking at cohorted, right? So you gotta
Yeah.
look cohorted.
Yeah.
So if I look cohorted from 22, 23 to 23, 24, so grade 5 to grade 6 went 71 to 60. And then 6 to 7, 79 to 50, and then 7 to 8, 63 to 41.
ELA is even more dramatic.
Hmm?
ELA is even more dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it was, not the best year. And then, we really like the IXL program at the middle school that was implemented last year. We have received excellent feedback from teachers and students. And
You think
that is another.
That's what brought it back up.
Well, I mean, you can't say because we don't have a causation
Yeah,
study,
right.
but, so.
But there was an improvement,
There is an improvement, and you know what, the IXL program is very similar to our personalized learning plans.
Yeah.
It takes whatever skill the student needs to work on from their benchmark assessment. And it gives them, the lessons to master those skills and then moves them forward from there. So we really like that personalized approach that the IXL program was able to give. Plus, students are actually really motivated to do the program. We had a lot of students engage with it, and that
yeah, we
means
saw
that
that,
they're actually
they
doing it.
came to the meeting one time.
Excuse me?
Who came to the meeting to show us how the kids were engaged last year? Somebody.
Which one?
Video.
Courtney Trudge? Maybe?
I don't.
It's all blur.
I don't.
It's all blurred
It's all a
now.
blur.
Yeah.
But it is interesting looking at the SBAC growth scores, ELA,
Mhm.
like there's so many just anomalies, right? This idea going from 83 to 28 and then back up to 71.
Right.
It-
And that's why it's hard when I'm like, well, you know, what do I, because it's not.
Right.
it's- Who, you're right, 83 to 28 to 71, like.
Yeah, there was a blip there, like something happened on that day, like there was a
there was
fire.
viral- yeah.
They didn't take the test.
Yeah, yeah,
It's-
that's, and it's interesting though, because it shows up also in, grade 5, 80% to 36 to back up to 62. That's
So that's
interesting.
interesting with the average percentage
It's
of
not
target
the same
achieved,
year either.
because you're
Right.
taking,
It's a different year.
a target and you're giving a percentage to it,
Yeah,
and then you're averaging that percentage. And yeah,
I mean, if, just looking at this, I would tend to see what SBAC did with their targets that year.
right. That's what I was thinking too. It's like, I think this is more statistical than my little cute brain does.
And you did it all in one year, you had a very high year the year
Yeah.
before, because then your goal is higher.
correct.
So then having people meet the goal the second year is harder,
Right.
Mhm.
because they're already maxing out.
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, if you were.
Oh, that's
if you were
true. So,
seeing-
Yeah.
so the big jump is like low expectations,
Mhm.
If
which,
you were seeing a drop in the number of classes in the same year, that's a whole different story. Then that tells you something might have occurred there. But when you see it scattered, then it's, yeah,
Mhm. Yep.
it's different.
Sydney, was there
And it-
anything glaring that you saw just coming in fresh from out of the district that, we really need to focus on, or does it follow the district-wide actions?
It's interesting because, I feel like, when I was talking to you last spring, I said I felt like I was looking in a mirror with many things. If I were looking at my prior district scores, they would probably look exactly like this. Like there's just sort of like a little bit of a general stagnation right now, I think nationally.
Mhm.
I think you're right.
Nobody's really moving in any direction very quickly right now.
But we are still gung ho about our, improvements.
Yeah.
And so on page 7, I listed some content specific district actions we are taking. In ELA, mathematics and science. In ELA, the EL education curriculum implementation, increasing that, and there's been some updates. So we are making sure that we are staying up to date on those updates. One-to-one instructional coach, for one-to-one coaching for instructional coaches, through, HITM and also through RESC. We have RESC Science of Reading Affinity Group, that we did last year and hope continues this year. And we also signed up for the state, TNTP, which stands for the New Teacher Project Literacy Partnership. They are going to be working in, K1. There's a consultant that's going to come in, do some learning walks, and help us with our literacy vision at that level. So that's for ELA.
What'd you say TNTP means?
The New Teacher Project.
Liza, is there any way to track when we're looking at the grade 8 math and science and ELA? Is there a way to track that once they're in the high school? Because I know we lose many kids, so it's hard to be able to say, like, the kids that traveled to Coggin from Strong, how are they doing in these subjects in comparison? So it's almost like we re-roll into a different evaluation of how they're doing. So I was just wondering how we can figure out how they're doing from 8th grade to 9th.
We have internal assessments for that, most of all, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it just wouldn't be done by the SBAC. It would be done by more of our internal assessments that they do, whether it's like program-based, teacher-created assessments, some of those anchor assessments, or maybe IXL has things, lots of different ones.
I'd be
those
interested
would be
to
discussed
do maybe
with
just for a student achievement committee meeting, just to say, we're meeting their needs, whether it's algebra or integrated math, the kids are doing well in 9th. I think it's important to show that gap.
Mhm.
In mathematics, last year there was a math professional learning group, personalized math instruction, through playlists, comprehensive math curriculum review, which we are starting. That's part of our ACES, work. IXL platform in grades 6 through 8, universal screener for number sense, which is an interview-based assessment rather than a computer-based assessment for kindergarten and 1st grade, which is much more helpful than the clicking of buttons for them. And interdisciplinary activities through play-based learning. We had a presentation on that last year about how kindergarten was using TENS to in their play-based learning. And then science, open science at middle school level, and exploring the use of the 5E model of instruction. And then on the back page, I just put,
Open science ed mean?
that is a curriculum from,
I don't know, Open Science. I don't even know if it has a.
It's, recommended, it's aligned with the state,
What?
aligned
I'm
with
aligned
the
with
state,
the state.
the state recommended.
It's like 70%, and it'll probably go up. I made that up. But about 70%.
I believe you.
Thank you. You really shouldn't, especially if there's a number involved. Most districts in the state are using Open Science because it's free.
And then on the last page is just some district-wide actions, that, we are putting in place, restorative practices, data-informed decision-making, curriculum design and alignment, and artificial intelligence, work. So those are some big things that we're working on to make sure that we are staying ahead, in teaching and learning.
It's a great report, very good.
Yep.
Excellent information.
And I like having things like the sort of practices on the data because it's all connected. So,
I have another question about process is this committee reviews this report. Does this report then go to the full board? And if so, basically what I want to ask is I usually do my newsletters to the community and towards the 1st of the month. So do you want this not to be distributed to the community until November, or is it okay if it comes out to the community before you like accept it officially or talk about it officially as a board? How do you want that to go?
The last meeting we had, where we had assessment, we actually attached it to the minutes. So it was already basically available and online
I think, I think it's not enough with the minutes. Many people aren't reading our subcommittee meeting minutes. It either needs to be under the learning tab, under assessments, or the full board needs to get it and attach to those because that's where parents are going to grab it.
Yeah, and I was thinking of attaching it to my newsletter, saying like once a year, we just take a big picture look from our state assessment, just that one picture. Yep, take a look.
But I'd
Lucy
like
does
to
a
have it as an
thorough job
agenda
of
item because we already have so many.
committee
Our meetings are so long.
reports at the full board meeting.
Right.
But I can't now. I have,
You're damn right.
I have a little form. I either have to write small. or-
No, no, no.
Inconvenience.
Oh, no.
That's what you're
And
looking
and we have that box, I
Yes.
heard.
That's it. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll dictate it. You can write it because you write
You
really
can't
small.
use
No,
the back page,
nope, nope,
Lindsay.
nope. I think what we should do for the report out and giving the data to the board is we provide them with the data ahead of time.
I think you can too.
And then we say, we went up, well, Lucy says, we went over the data, you've received it, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Don't summarize it, don't talk about it. Do you have any questions? You have it in its entirety.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Good,
Nope.
you could do the next.
Move it.
Yep.
Oh, I'll do it,
Yep.
although that would have required me to pay attention from the moment I walked in, so.
But how about my release to the community, October or November newsletter? Do you want the board to have it first, or do you want parents to, and?
The board will have it
We're,
next week anyway, right?
I think we all received it. I think the student achievement information goes to every board member,
Board
even if
already
you're
has
not on student
it's
achievement.
it's already gone out, yeah.
So I have the green light.
Yep.
Now, if we follow the schedule, our next meeting won't be until November,
Mhm.
so. You know,
Yeah.
if anyone has any concerns, they probably could bring them to the committee.
Do you meet the Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
Else to the no.
I think it's.
I'm not sure.
We haven't
but our
talked
next
about when
meeting
the
is
November
November.
meeting is
That-
gonna
That's our next topic,
Next
but
on the
we
agenda.
actually have one scheduled for October that we already put in here, October 22nd.
Well, to
Before.
do,
But then the way it was
committee
rewritten.
meeting stuff
it's
that
gonna
we
be
worked
No,
on.
November.
the district is closed that Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
So we probably can't.
So is everybody, we have a building committee meeting and a policy committee meeting on the 19th. That's the Wednesday before.
And we have
Um,
finance committee the 12th of November.
Finance and board of ed. Well,
The board meeting is the 12th, right?
and we could do November 5th if you wanted to do before or after the building committee meeting.
I would do it before building.
November 5th is, we're having another building committee meeting on November 5th.
So we are
Maybe just
scheduling
add more.
every first and third week.
Okay, I wasn't
Of
sure. if
every
we were gonna
month,
do that. Okay,
We are
Okay,
planning
yes.
that we might cancel one of those.
Okay.
But we just wanted to have people have them on their calendar, so like if the building project has a need, we have something at least kind of regularly scheduled every 2 weeks.
You have to pay bills and stuff like
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah.
usually it's something that means.
Yeah.
So, so if we have it before, then that means we have to keep it short. They start at 5.
Mhm.
So that would move our meeting to 4. We just moved it to 4:30. If we do it on the same day as building committee. we'd have
Yeah,
to
it's just,
start at
that's the
4.
only other November Wednesday that's available. I mean, if you want to make an exception because of Thanksgiving, we could do December 3rd, but it would just have to be before or after the building committee again. But again, that building committee meeting might not
Gonna be in
happen.
Colorado. Oh, I'm gonna be in New Orleans.
I don't know, what are people thinking?
And then I'll be in Disney. No, I don't think there's any meetings on that.
The other thing we could do is not do it on a Wednesday.
That's been pretty standard though. All our meetings are on Wednesdays.
No, we run
Oh,
out.
we could move it for 1 month. and
Well,
then-
that's, yeah, I think that if people can make it, yeah.
Yeah.
Need a 5 week.
Do we necessarily need it or should we just gauge whether we need it and then make a special meeting if necessary?
So we do, I feel like we do need it, and that's in the next agenda item, is I was gonna ask for us to just start brainstorming some standard topics for each of these 4 meetings of the year. So for example, in September, every September, we should do a summer update, summer learning update, and the SBAC data review. Like, we know that we'll always do those. So the reason I'm thinking we need the November, no matter when it is that's when you would have to review proposals for new high school courses. Like, so they would have to have them by then to be able to meet the timeline for like the program of studies and the next review and going into, if they're approved, into like scope and sequence and curriculum. And we can't hold off, I think, too long for seeing which ones will go, well, looking at those proposals.
Right, no, I know, cause.
Because we're finally caught up, right?
I think so. So then why don't we just go with the fifth for the building committee? Would that
That's a
be
Wednesday as
enough
well?
time? Yeah, would that be enough time for them to have the courses all set for the high school? Do they need more time? Would they be all set?
Theirs are due in October.
The due date is October 15th,
Okay, so,
for a new course, so that would be time on our end. I'm not sure if there are gonna be or not, given how, packed everybody's schedules currently are.
Is that building
but-
committee a maybe, maybe not one?
It's a maybe. I
Yeah.
think they're all maybe, maybe not ones.
Yeah.
But also that would, if their due date is October 15th, that gives us and some time and then 2 weeks for you to review them, which is probably
Yeah.
plenty of time unless there's like 100 new courses proposed, which I don't think there would be.
Please not. Be a lot.
So do you want to do the 5th at
The
4
at the
o'clock?
clock.
Mhm.
What else do we need that meeting for?
Um. Is there anything else that's gonna be like a standard topic in November?
So my
Well-
question is what we have done previously is we looked at aspect and beginning of year data of benchmarks at the same meeting, but we did this in September,
Yeah.
so it could be that, or I don't know if that's something that we want to continue doing, given that it's used mostly to inform
Mhm.
children's programming and instruction.
I'm not sure when we have district goals approved by, but if it's not the October meeting and we're doing it in November, we could do a review of the student achievement goals for the district for the year if we want.
I rewrote the goals and sent them out, but I haven't heard back from anybody.
Okay.
So,
I was assuming those would be on the October board meeting agenda.
So we
I'll
should
send
send
them
just a reminder email
Send them
just
out
saying,
again.
can you review these?
I'll send them out again.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing.
I must have
Maybe
missed the email.
I-
I think I must have missed the email because I don't see it.
Well, maybe I just sent it to, Sydney.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it either.
I'll send them out.
Okay.
And then other standing things, so like then we have, I don't have that thing in front of me. I do want to say though that I was texting Deb and Katie earlier. So I wasn't just texting, had a purpose. And they said both that biomedical exploration and sociology are only running in the spring.
Hmm.
So those aren't,
So they're not running now.
yeah, so they're good to go. So let me just quickly pull up the meeting document.
Well, while we're talking about dates, we do have achievement committee meeting scheduled for October 22nd. That's on the list on the website.
Yeah, it's all
So
gonna
we
change
should probably
after the
Cancel it.
October 8th board meeting, because that's when you'll approve the new
Should probably
committees.
The new
change it.
committee structure of the,
Yeah.
Dave.
All right, so let me pull up student achievement. So we have September, November, February, and May. Did you have anything that's like gonna be like a standing topic that you would want for February and May? Like, we're always gonna talk about this in February, we're always gonna talk about this in May.
If you want beginning of the year, middle of the year and end of the year,
Oh, that's right.
but then at the same time, not all testing will be done by those meetings. Like by November, yes, beginning of the year will be done, but by February, it depends on the benchmark. So it's
And
kind of,
When November, we'll have all SAT and APs from the previous year, right?
We've already, so.
We have AP.
We have AP.
Yeah.
And we already did SAT
Yeah.
in the spring. Cause they take it in March, so I had all those scores. That's on the spring
Yeah.
report last year.
So in May, we can put down SAT.
Mhm. But, and then also, if you notice on this one, the 11th grade performance index, that's based off that's the state SAT
Yeah.
score. Put into the performance index of the state.
We have to run. I have a 6 o'clock meeting they want to do from home.
Why don't I, just for now, I'll just put BOY in November, right? And then for February and May, I'll put whatever data is available in May. There's an SAT overview. And then there's, what's the deadline for like the scope and sequence? If the course is approved in November, when do they have to have the scope and sequence? Would that be February or May?
That would be, the whole curriculum needs to be written.
But do they do the scope and sequence first for the program of studies and then the whole curriculum? Like, is it?
They
are
do
there
a
two
general
stages
sequence for the
proposal?
proposal.
Okay.
I'm also just, and this is a different conversation because I have to go, but, it feels like we're just churning out new classes. Why are we doing that? And why are we churning out new classes?
I don't want to answer
Yeah.
for COG in particular.
Yeah,
But I do know that nationally, there is a huge push for student engagement, right? And
Right.
if it's not the typical 4-year English, math, science, social studies, if we can do things to engage kids, to get them to stay in their local high school, if we expand our offerings. So I think that, I don't think it's unique to here.
Yeah.
I don't know if Liza wants to answer
Not-
anything.
I would agree.
Yeah,
that
it's
new things
engagement.
Coming out,
Yeah.
engagement. I mean, esports is a
Right, right,
huge
right.
thing,
Yep.
like, we wanted to expand reasons also the state is pushing for pathways, for dual enrollments. So looking at some dual enrollment opportunities, it was like, what dual enrollment opportunities, so that's sociology could be, I don't believe we've dual enrolled it for this year, but that's another opportunity. AP keeps coming out with some new classes, offerings.
and I think we want to make sure that we are creating new curriculum for the kids, not because the teachers want to teach it. And that was one of the things we talked about last year,
Mhm.
that if a new class is being offered, it should be because there has been an indication that the kids are interested in it, not because a teacher has a passion for something and they want to teach it. That's a good thing,
Mhm.
but it meant not necessarily a class,
Mm.
because teachers shouldn't, like, curriculum shouldn't be dependent upon teachers, right? So if we have a class that we offer because the teacher wants to teach it and that teacher leaves, the class is gone.
Mhm.
So it shouldn't be teacher dependent. So that's the other piece as part of the process, that it should be in response to student needs,
Mhm.
not
And
teacher desires.
I had a
That's why
full
we were-
day professional learning today. PL is what we say now, right? But we had a Marzano consultant today and she made us feel so good, all of our 90 faculty members in the trades. She said, you guys are the hot thing now nationwide, the trade, meaning perhaps there's higher level engagement when they're up and doing things. Yeah, we do classroom as well, but certainly, yeah.
You also give the
Yes.
best feedback.
We also have, data from School Links, that talk about the career clusters and what students are interested in. So they do that yearly, and so we have a list of the
Good.
top clusters and so on.
In the portrait of the graduate and the citizen or whatever we're gonna call it, and in the strategic plan, are we looking at, what are the courses that would engage our 8th graders to stay here? And what are the courses that would make us more attractive than just music, sports or whatever? I mean, I think as we look at the need for curriculum growth, when we had kids from China, there was a lot of interest in having more information about China.
Mhm.
When we had kids go other places, there seems to be an interest to make kids involved in subjects that are in front of them today that are not gonna be handled by, look at Latin,
Yeah.
You know, it's not. They would rather have esports than Latin, you know, and what does that mean for the kids' development in their history and knowledge of things?
I think
But
that's
there
what the
are,
strategic plan does though, Bob. It needs to take all of that into account and we need to
Yeah.
figure out, is it course offerings? Is it social emotional needs that aren't being met? Is it, it could be a host of things, but that's what I'm hoping we get from that strategic plan is really an outline of how we're going to retain kids and how we're going to make them ready for the world.
yeah, the
And
last
have a
time,
great experience at the same time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
the last time we did it, I asked the kids, they wanted to be outside, they wanted to have animals in the class, they wanted to have friends, they wanted to know people they didn't know for years. They had lots of things that the kids were really looking forward to high school, and what they wanted the school to provide to them, but you have that data because it was all collected and, I think probably hasn't changed much.
Mhm.
We had a little bit of COVID in between.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh.
Lorena, the
Kids, they will definitely tell you what they want and need. I think in this district especially, we have a student population that has great voice and they want to be heard and they're more than happy. I think even when we had the superintendent search and we had, Mary come back and say, I couldn't believe how engaged these middle school kids were on what they'd want for a superintendent. And that's something we should really be proud of. Bye, Linda.
Bye.
Well, I was just gonna say that, like the high school that was in my districts, where most of the kids in my districts went. They just did talk about hands-on, they just, had kids like express an interest in, flying and aeronautical engineering,
Oh, yeah.
those kind of things. And so they found a hangar, like an old warehouse and everything, and they have a partnership called Take Flight with NASA, and they actually are building their second plane. So
Wow.
like actually building planes that people are going to go and they might go and fly around in and
Wow.
everything. So they've built one and they're already on their second, and it's like a full year class for kids. It's
Wow.
incredible. And NASA comes in and sends in their experts and there's local people who help. It's been incredible. So like things like that. If anybody has an old warehouse around here, we can look into bringing something like that in. But, I do think that engagement is going to be incredibly important.
Okay.
Maureen was working on enhancements
Yeah, I
and
know.
other things while she was at the middle school, so, if you have any things that you remember that they want.
This is public comment, we good?
Yes, okay, we're going into public comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to dovetail off what you were saying, Bob, because a lot of kids were talking, especially middle school and younger, were talking about outdoor opportunities. So they were talking about having actual classes that met outdoors. They were talking about having gardens. They were talking about doing more connections to state parks and things like that. So that was one of the big things that they had talked about a lot. Back then, they were talking about electronic technologies and sports and things like that. But I'm glad that that course is being offered. But I think the tricky part with that kind of enrichment is that it's not just all the time that goes into putting together a course. May not necessarily by the time it's implemented, reach the target population that kind of inspired the class. So in some ways, I kind of disagree with what was being said about if a teacher has a passion, because I think that might actually be the thing that gets kids hooked onto a topic that they might not have initially thought about. And those can be the types of things that could be career directions for kids that they may never even, it wasn't even on their radar until they tried something out. So I wouldn't dash the hopes of some very energetic teachers on topics that maybe don't show up on your surveys, because maybe it wasn't something that students thought of ahead of time.
Maureen, do you think the turnaround time for curriculum development with a passionate teacher of a particular subject would be quicker as well?
I think so,
Oh.
because they would be more invested. So.
I wonder if that could be, not for lack of a better word, explored at the middle school, Maureen, and
Yes.
we had that explorations And, it wasn't exactly structured that was, best for the kids at the time, in my opinion. But I do think that is where that exploration really should happen and get kids engaged in and looking at different ideas, because then it gives them the idea once they are to the high school, as opposed to engaging them at the high school when we've written curriculum and it might not be a curriculum that works in 2 or 3 years because there weren't enough kids that really wanted to be taking it. So we have to find some way to explore that earlier, as opposed to at the high school level.
The other thing is that the high school scheduling, sometimes for some students, especially because of AP classes and limited staff, ends up precluding them from taking some of the courses that might be something that's a little off from their original path of where they're thinking they're going. So, a student that's in band and whatever, that might not be able to take a particular course that's maybe seen as more of an enrichment opportunity because the schedules clash. So that's part of, just having a small school, there's only so many things that we can do with that, but I like the idea that if there's going to be multiple offerings, trying to have them offered at different times during the schedule so that they don't conflict necessarily with especially large classes.
I think offering internships too, I think is so important, and trying to find ways. And I know it's harder with businesses post-COVID to really get them engaged, and, especially being a rural district, it's harder for us, but being able to get kids out to different businesses and trades and, ideas might be even more beneficial than having a course or exploring anything. That hands-on is what, guides a lot of kids towards success.
So that I'm critical a little bit of New Hampshire education, but one thing New Hampshire did really well was the extended learning opportunity, the ELO, right? So they have an incredible system statewide, and some schools really excel at it, for an extended learning opportunity where a student says, I want to do this, I want to learn this, and then they have an ELO coordinator, who's a teacher or counselor or something like that, who goes through all the competencies step by step that would be covered in other courses, and it could be multiple courses. And then they have projects, they have assessments, but they're out of the building, they're doing something else, but they get high school credit for it. So that system is set up incredibly well.
You talk about wanting to keep the 8th graders coming into the high school. You get them engaged, they'll come.
Well, they're coming up, I think next week. They're coming up to the high school next week or the week after to spend the day.
Started.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's exciting.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn, it's 6:03.
So moved.
Lindsay? and
Lindsay, how did the owl work for you, being remote? How was the vision and the audio?
The audio is a billion times better, and the visual is perfect because it's tracking voices and mouth movements, so you can actually tell who's talking. So it's phenomenal. Thank you.
Do you think this would work well for a full board meeting? Like the same, like better than people like having the delay on YouTube or? Okay.
Yep, because you can actually see in the top picture the entire library from one end to the other. You can see where public comment would be. You can see the library's desk, even the front door to the library. And I think that's important for everyone watching a meeting to gauge what is, what the entire room is. So I would really look at this for full meetings.
He has it up a little higher. Do you see everybody, or is it just cutting off our heads?
It
Nope.
will adjust to see us.
Everybody, and it's adjusting. As you talk, it's adjusting below. So right now I see Sydney and Bob in one picture. I see Lucy in another picture. And then I see the large version of the room, which I also think is important.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who's the caretaker of the owl? Yeah, you got your
So
little
far,
case.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ian,
Sydney's
Is this
the
new
guardian.
technology?
Want
Is
to
it?
figure it out?
Yeah, Harper.
Hey, all in favor? We didn't vote. Aye. Okay.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Liza, thank you.
You too.
Thanks.
Just make